Hey everybody, Chi Ether here, and it's about to get dark out here, but I guess I'll do half in, half out. So today I'm going to talk about the solar eclipse in Leo, new moon solar eclipse. So if you missed the first solar eclipse in July 23rd, have no fear, because your next time to set an intention is here. When we talk about Leo rules the 5th house in astrology. Leo is our passion, our drive. It is our creative self-expression. It's our dignity, our courage. It's the heart of things. Like, what is it that we put our hearts into? It's can even be looked at as life force. And so before we take action, we want to have a divine consult, right? At this time. And what we really want to have is a lot of wisdom on whatever it is that we are going forth with, right? So Leo is what sets us apart from others. So the energy thereof is, what is it that we do that makes our ice colder than somebody else's? In essence, someone's doing the same thing you are. Let's say we're both doing tarot readings, right? Well, what makes your tarot readings different? You know? Is it your deck of cards? Is it the way you read? Is it because you're not going, with what everything on Google states? Are you going back to the essence of things? Like, really, you got to really sit with yourself and think about, what is it that sets me apart, right, from the collective? And so when we had this lunar eclipse, the interesting thing about the penumbral lunar eclipse was that a lunar eclipse is when the moon goes between the earth and the sun. An interesting thing I find about that is that the moon, how we feel, right, is right in between how we express ourselves and what grounds us. So you ever see somebody who's just not grounded and they just do the most through their sun sign? This is when the moon is going in between, the emotions are doing a self-check. That's how I see it. That's how I see a lunar eclipse. So I see it as, you got the earth on one side, you got the sun on the other. You need to ground your feelings in between the two so that you're grounded in your feeling and how you can achieve that before you actually act it out or share it, right? So, and that was in Aquarius. So when we talk about Aquarius, and Aquarius rules the 11th house, it's ruled by Uranus. And Leo, which I didn't mention, Leo's ruled by the sun. So Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, but the co-ruler is Uranus. So some of you say Uranus, but that rules our social relations, our innovation, creation. Now you see how this is going hand in hand with the Leo energy. Leo is about how we assert ourselves and how we're going about our creative self-expression. And Aquarius in the 11th house, that has to do with our networking. Who are we showing our gifts to? And the behavior that we need to have along with that, right? Because, the way that you behave in front of your friends or those that are close to you is a totally different way than what you would act when you're in an 11th house situation where you don't really know anyone in a group setting, right? So this is more specifically, since if Leo is focusing on our on how we're going to express our creative, if it Leo being our creative self-expression, then how is it that we are coming across to our 11th house situation, which is Aquarius, right? So as I got my download from the cosmos during that penumbral lunar eclipse, it became very clear to me that whatever behaviors that we've been expressing to our clientele or in front of our clientele, or maybe, whether we're too standoffish or detached, which can be a part of Aquarian energy, or if we have been totally Martian toward those who, we might be so comfortable with that we're not drawing the line between professional and a chill setting, right? A professional and a lax setting. So, and then also when we're talking about Uranus is liberation. It frees us from bondage, if you will. It's a great energy to do so. It breaks things up. I call Uranus the bouncer of the zodiac because it breaks things up, and it kind of move you real. It'll grab you up and lift you real quick out of your situation. Quick awakenings, epiphanies, transformation, hitting things being revealed, and we are relentless when it comes to Uranus and the energy thereof. And it's really forcing us to a new life, right? To a new us. And the interesting thing is, revolution a lot of the time has been correlated and correlates with Uranus as well as Aquarian energy. And what I find interesting about that is that when we go to the etymology of the word revolution and evolution and revolve, it basically breaks down into, when we have revolution, first of all, celestial bodies. If you go and you Google the etymology of revolution, it's going to say celestial bodies. Now, how magnificent is that? So as the celestial bodies in the sky, how they all affect us differently, and they're shifting, this calls us to shift. It's calling us to shift as well. As my mother says, you know, you're either going to catch the wave, or you're going to be left behind. And I know I can't afford to be left behind. So when we're talking about those celestial bodies and how they affect us, we really need to see where does Leo fall in our chart. If we're not clear on what kind of business we want to do, or, you know, what services we're going to provide, we really need to start looking at our astrological charts, whether it be progressions or what have you, right? More specifically, you know, going toward the future. So we kind of want to look at our progressions, but we also want to look at our natal. So it's calling us to change, to become that higher divine being that we've been called to be. It's what our spirit is here to do. So if we're out and we're partying and whatnot, and that Leo energy, and, you know, we're not taking things seriously, and we think that we can constantly catch up, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. Because, you know, if you don't hop on this wave now, especially those born in 1980, whose North Node is in Leo, and some of you that are in 81, I believe your North Node Leo too, this is a big one for us. And then the eclipse is lining up with the fixed star Regulus, so it's sort of like, you know, it's just really, and Regulus, from what I've read, you know, has to do with a warlike mentality, and I have Mars in Leo, so for me, this just really means, like, put the pedal to the metal. Like, I don't have any room to drag my feet, and that is the type of angle that we should really be on with this. Like, there is no time for play at this point. So anyway, so let me get back on track. So so we covered Uranus, revolution, changing to become our higher selves. When I backpedal a little bit to Aquarius. So how are we showing ourselves to the world? We need to be very particular about this. It can, especially on social media, it can be very easy to kind of blend the lines, but remember, we're in front of a collective. What group activities and networking related situations can we get ourselves into to promote what it is that, you know, that we've come to do? So again, I'm talking about the new moon, new moon in Leo, solar eclipse on August 21st. All right, so let's see what else I wanted to touch on. Saturn. So Saturn plays a part in this because, again, Saturn rules Aquarius, and Uranus is the co-ruler thereof. And as my mama tells me, nobody gets around Saturn. You know, I'm totally guilty for trying to get around Saturn, and then I realized, no, you got to slow down. And it's very hard if you have a lot of fire. That's why, you know, you got to start looking at where you need to shift. Hence the reason why progression, our secondary progressions are very important. It's important to follow that energy because we get so caught up in what we were born with that we're kind of like that Toys R Us kid. We don't ever want to grow up. So it may be hard, but, you know, Saturn it's so necessary. And I personally, I have Saturn in the 6th house. So I really need to get my daily routines in order, you know, because Saturn is about the foundation. Some would say obstacles, but no, it's that sort of It's that parent. It's that Capricorn parent, actually. It's that parent that really cracks the whip, that, you know, really busts your chops, doesn't allow you to drag your feet. It's that parent that knows that you can do better, so they put that weight on you for you to carry it, because they know, yeah, you can half-ass do it and it be all right. But this is the parent that pushes you to your ultimate. There are no limits. So it just pushes you as hard as you can go. It takes you to the Beyonce of it all, you know? Beyonce goes hard. I'm not a Beyonce fan, but Beyonce takes shit to new levels, right? So, and her parents pushed her like that. So just like her father is like, think of Matthew Knowles as the Saturn, and how it creates, or that Joe Jackson. Saturn is like Joe Jackson, Michael Jackson's father in action. It's busting your chops, busting your ass, basically, to get you where you need to be. Saturn will also shield and protect. Saturn is not going to deny. It might delay, but you brought on the delay more than likely. It may delay, but it's not going to deny. And that's what I love about Saturn. Saturn teaches us some really intense lessons if we don't listen the first time, if we think that we can do things any kind of way. Like I was saying earlier in the video, where we have all this information, but yet we're still doing things the way we feel instead of the way we need to. And on the day of the eclipse, that energy, if you weren't sitting your ass still, I bet you got the download from the cosmos that you needed to just sit still and listen, because I know I did. And I was actually attempting to make this video on that day. But I'm about to take this inside, so I'll be back with the next video, part 2.